Hi guys, on this one we are going to experiment with vocal tract resonances a bit, and we are going to go through an exercise that will help you adjust the vocal tract resonances so that you get brighter, clearer and more forward sounding tone. Okay, what we are going to do in this exercise, we are going to keep our tongue in a quite high position in our mouth, and then we are going to move it slowly forwards and backwards while we are sustaining vowel phonation. And what this basically does is that, first of all, the high tongue position, it kind of divides our vocal tract into two separate cavities. One that is in front of our tongue and one that is behind our tongue, closer to our throat. And when we move the tongue forward and backwards, it kind of changes the sizes of these spaces. When we move the tongue forward, it makes the back cavity, the lower cavity, larger, and in turn when we move our tongue backwards, it makes the space in front of the tongue larger. And that makes some crazy changes in our second and third resonance frequency of the vocal tract, and soon we will be listening how it in practice, what kind of changes it makes to the tone. Okay, I'm going to give you an example of this exercise, and then I'm going to give you a couple of instructions before we start doing it seriously. We will be doing something like this. And something like this. So what I did there, first I started with vowel that sounded something like ooh. I had my lips quite close and a little bit rounded, rounded shape. My tongue was quite back, and the back of the tongue was quite high, close to my palate. And this is very important, the height of the tongue, because if your tongue is positioned too low, you don't get the separation of separating the vocal tract into two separate cavities. So always remember to maintain high tongue position when you do this. And then I started phonation when I had this initial setting and started to little by little move my tongue forwards. As you notice, the vowel sound also changed, while also the kind of the timbre of the, or voice quality of the sound also changed. Sometimes it sounded sharper and brighter, and sometimes less bright and sharp. So these two things, the vowel and the sound quality, go somewhat hand in hand, and you might also get an idea that this might remind me about vowel modifications that you might have learned from some YouTube videos by some other YouTube vocal coaches. Yeah, this is very closely, of course, related to that topic, because every time we modify our resonance frequencies to change the sound quality, we also are modifying the vowel sound itself. Yes, that kind of happens every time. Okay, let's try this. Take a breath, add your support, and then phonate with ooh. And then when you have started the vowel, start little by little moving your tongue from back closer to the teeth or front of your mouth. Let's go a couple of times. I went 2 times front and back, and let's do it again. I will give you first this advice. For some folks, it might not be, well, let's say that it's not that obvious for everybody where the tongue is actually positioned in your mouth. If you haven't been practicing singing, you might not have such a conscious control over your position of your tongue. So this might need for you to practice in front of a mirror sometime. Go in front of a mirror, open your mouth and check where your tongue is positioned, and just practice like raising your tongue and lowering it, and then moving it backwards and forward. So you might have do that for some time to get any hang of how to control your tongue position actually. And other mention that you might have noticed that this kind of sounds like overtone singing, if you're familiar with that one. So yeah, this is pretty much the same thing. We are kind of picking up some voice harmonics and lifting the level of them with the resonances, so that they start to little by little start to sound like distinct tones that are jumping out of the whole of the voice, so to say. Okay, and the other variation of this same exercise, we want to use a vowel that, or we want to do the same thing but have our mouth more open. So there are two variations with quite closed mouth and then with more mouth opening. Just to correct myself, the first one is not with closed mouth, but with vowel that it has less mouth opening. This is also something that changes the kind of the resonator behavior of the vocal tract quite a bit. So it's good to experience with both settings. Okay, let's try with something like this. You get kind of this type of vowel, initial vowel, when you have your mouth open and your tongue back and up. And then let's do it and move the tongue little by little forward and then backwards, and then you can do it a couple of times with the same vowel. Something like that. And by practicing this, I should mention that you should give some time for this, because this is very kind of subtle motor learning that we're doing here. We are kind of practicing very, very small differences between the settings. So you gotta give it a little bit time, but after doing this week or 2 weeks, you start notice that you have more control over that. It's easier for you to find kind of the path for the tongue movement where you kind of hit those resonance frequencies more efficiently and get more of these metallic overtones jumping out of the sound. Yeah, it needs probably some time for you to experiment this, for you to get the most out of this exercise. But when you have practiced it a little bit and have better control over the resonances, you might want to start trying it out with sang phrases, where let's take for instance, I love you so. In this sang phrase, of course you don't have as much time to adjust during each vowel, but what you can do is you can very quickly make some minor adjustments for the tongue position during each vowel, and kind of try to ensure that you have the most efficient position for the tongue. You can move it quickly a little bit forward and backwards to kind of fine-tune the tongue position and simultaneously fine-tune the resonance frequencies so they are nicely in good relation to the voice harmonics, and in that way they will boost the voice harmonics and you will get this nice brightness to the sound. You can, if you want, you can try it a couple of times, or you can return this exercise later when you have practiced the first exercise for a couple of weeks. But we can try it with all those who want to try it at this point. I love you so. I love you so. I love you so. So what I did, every time I tried to find a better position for the tongue. You might hear differences sometimes when you're with a little bit poorer adjustment. Your vowels might sound a little bit. I find you so. They kind of sound very similar and a little bit like they're a little bit stuck in the throat or something like that. Good. And the last mention I want to point out that this exercise also helps you sing the high notes better, because when you have more efficient resonance frequency adjustment, it kind of helps your vocal folds vibrate, so it is easier you to also go up to the higher pitch levels. With poor adjustments, again, you might be I love you so, I love you so, I love you so, so. So also experiment when you have when you are familiar with the first part of this exercise, you can also start to experimenting with high pitch levels. You can even do something like exercise where you sing high pitch and then start moving your tongue in a similar manner that we did lower, and you also might notice that with poor adjustment it's harder to kind of maintain the pitch, and when you hit the good adjustment it kind of makes the sustaining of the phonation a little bit easier, and of course you get this more like more bright tone quality as well. Okay, something like this for now. Have a try of these exercises, and I see you on the next video. Remember to subscribe to the channel and like the video if you enjoyed the content. Bye.